Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. My partner steps fully aside and must stay there. In honor of the gender of the meeting, of the Akash, and what this truly is about. Whatever your perception is of Lemuria is probably wrong. It is the beginning society of humanity, and it's not the only one. It is one of them, and it's simple. The language is simple. There are few letters and few vowels. It's simple. And yet arranged in a certain way, everything you wanted to say could be said. The society itself was not elegant, but it truly was a high caliber of thinking and spiritualness. It's difficult to really relay to you what you did. And as long as we have been doing this, I haven't given you all of the ceremonies. I will. Or all that was there. But I don't necessarily want to review anything, for you can pick this up in previous channels. I want to continue it. You can ask Meliha, for she knows many things that I channel and can feel them. The human Akash is different than you think. Many of you are here because you remember some things, or you would like to remember some things. Not all of you are aware of Lemuria, and yet there is something, even in the name, that seems to ring a bell, as they say. Something at the cellular level that you would have reminds you that you had a part in the history of humanity as a woman. The feminine energy that is here is what we are talking about. It is a gentle, beautiful energy. And this is the energy in Lemuria that was truly revered. It was balanced with the men, and we have told you this before. Now you might have wondered, what did we do in Lemuria? Let me tell you what you did. You did ceremony. And then when you were done, you did ceremony. Now this is very common for simplistic cultures. There was ceremony on everything. If you want to see the proof of this, you will go back to the indigenous even today. And you will sit with them for a day and you will find them doing ceremony. Ceremony around everything that they perceived had energy. The only thing that was missing was ceremony for their ancestors. You see, they didn't have any. But all of the other energies of the planet, they had ceremony. And that would go with the weather, and this would go with the fishing. It would be in thanks to Gaia. It would be for longer life. It would be for health. Very, very common that you would have ceremony. And so I want to tell you about one we have never discussed before. And the reason I would like to suggest this is you may find it something you would like to revive someday, Meliha. And it's not just for women. There was a word that was used in Lemurian, and it was a fairly long one, that translated into what you would now call transfer. And that really truly meant the ability to move energy from one place to another. But in the case of the ceremony that you did it with the men. And it was transference of both male and female energies in a ceremony that you had, where the tradition was that if you did this long enough, that you would then transfer wisdom and knowledge to another person. You had a circle. Many of the women, not all, of a certain age that were elders would get into a circle facing outward. For each woman, there was a man. It was honored that the oldest men in the village would be the ones who would be most privileged to then stand outside of the circle facing the women who were then facing them. So you have a circle of women looking out and a circle of men around them looking in, face to face, standing very close to one another. The ceremony would go for a while, and there would be a leader. And the woman who was the leader had no partner for transference. Often it was Meliha, who, by the way, had no partner. This is also very common. Of the shamanic energies anywhere on the planet, especially at that time, partners were a distraction. And she would lead this circle. And it would be different than you think. There would be what you would now call a meditation. But it wasn't really a meditation at all. It was a remembrance based upon Lemurian energy that was given by the Pleiadians. It was a remembrance of the teaching of the land. And then you would take the hands of the men in front of you. You would know them all, of course, because they were part of the village. The men would take your hands and you would take theirs, and you would look into each other's eyes for transference. Now the tradition and the idea was that the wisdom that you would have could be transferred to them in some form. And that the wisdom that they would have, that was different because they were men, would be transferred to you. Almost like an open-eyed meditation. You would literally stare into their eyes. Now there is a specific kind of plant that was in Lemuria that was fast burner. You called it the fast burner. And you would take sticks of a specific size, and there would be a central mound with one stick, and it would burn down until it extinguished itself. And then all of the men would drop your hands and move one woman to the right. Another stick would be put, another fast burner would be lit. And when it was extinguished, all the men would move one woman to the right. Depending upon how many women and men there were, would determine, of course, how long the ceremony lasted. Look at what you were doing. It was an honoring, a full honoring of the wisdom of both genders, shared with everybody. The elders got the most, and this was also the tradition. It's a circle of wisdom that involved both men and women. And let me tell you something. Everybody felt it. Everybody felt it. The men enjoyed it because it was their spiritual connection. The women enjoyed it because they got the ability to experience that which the men had, which was honor for them. It was special. It wasn't done that often. But when it was, the rest of the village watched. And at the end, when all the women had shared in the men who were there and looked into their eyes, they would drop their hands, and the men would turn around and look at the village. So they were now all looking outward. And those who were watching would all stand and applaud. Just one of many things that you did. So different than today. It was a gender honoring. It wasn't just women. But it honored the women for what they knew. I'm sure there'll be more. But that's it for now. Let the meeting begin. And so it is.